So when we hear the word stock exchange, the few things project in our mind like Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange. But what is this social stock exchange? Is it a different segment altogether, or does it function similar to other normal operating stock exchanges? Let's discuss. Hello everyone, welcome to iExamB. So today's concept for learning is about social stock exchange. What is this social stock exchange? Social stock exchange is a novel concept in India, though it is prevalent in several other countries, but it is new to India. So social stock exchange actually is a place or is a platform which is initiated by SEBI with a focus on eligible social objectives for the underserved and less privileged section of population. And this social stock exchange will allow the not-for-profit organizations and for-profit social enterprises to list on the stock exchanges in order to raise funds in order to meet their social objectives. So it's an initiative by SEBI, and according to the earlier draft report which was issued by SEBI, the social stock exchange may help in rebuilding the livelihood of people who may have been affected by calamities or pandemics like COVID-19. It's a unified funding channel actually to the listed social enterprises, thereby giving them the potential to uplift those enterprises that are the bottom of the socio-economic pyramid. And this idea of establishment of social stock exchange was first floated by finance minister in her budget speech in 2019-20, and the board subsequently approved the creation of such an exchange with the objective to take capital market to the masses, and specifically the organizations which are working towards social welfare and benefits, in order to make it easier for them to raise funds. And also the British Council had done one survey on 258 social enterprises, and the key findings and conclusion for that survey were there is a growing recognition and support for young startups, but a lack of awareness about social enterprises. So almost 32% of social enterprises reported that there is a lack of understanding or awareness among the banks and other support organizations with regard to social enterprises. And there is a large youth population but lack of necessary skills, and their skill development then needs to be started at an early academic level. With more educational institution, they should be having they should be delivering the courses which are equipped for these young professionals with management skills to lead these social enterprises. And also enabling access to finance for proof of concept and reducing regulations to receive foreign capital, because 33% of these social enterprises in this survey reported that access to investors was low due to the limited network of these enterprises. And also there was also a significant finding wherein the female entrepreneurs and leaders of social enterprises identified challenges around gender biases when trying to source funding and investment. So the prospective investors of Indian financial ecosystem do not have enough information about such social enterprises, and this lack of knowledge actually is an impediment in the flow of funding for these organizations. As I said, globally many established social stock exchanges are in place, like countries like Brazil, UK, Canada, Singapore, etc. But this concept is new to India. So for this, SEBI had come up with its framework for after proposing certain amendments to the existing regulations of issue of capital and disclosure requirements and listing obligation and disclosure requirements, and SEBI alternate investment fund regulations, wherein it had stated in this particular notification of 25th July to 2022 that the framework for the social stock exchange which is coming in 4 has been developed on the basis of recommendation of working and technical group which was constituted earlier, led by Ishaq Hussain, and working group Dr. Harsh Kumar Bhanwala. So according to the recommendation provided by these groups, these committees, this framework has been provided. And also recently, in the month of October only, the major stock exchange of our country, that is Bombay Stock Exchange, has got in principle approval of market regulator, that is SEBI, to set up a social stock exchange as a separate segment. So what is this framework and what are the changes and amendments that have been made, we will be discussing in the next set of slides. So the framework on social stock exchange. So the first question that comes to the picture is, who are the eligible participants on the social stock exchange? Are they the normal body corporate or the companies that are going to be listed on this social stock exchange, or does it differ? So the eligible participants are not-for-profit organizations and for-profit social enterprises, wherein their major objective should be a social intent to create an impact, social impact, and it should be demonstrated through its focus on social objectives for the underserved and the less privileged population or regions. So how will they be raising the funds? What is the mode of raising fund? Like the normal enterprises, they issue the various securities like shares, bonds, debentures, etc. So for them, issuance of zero coupon, zero principal instruments, and donation through mutual fund schemes for not-for-profit organization. So zero coupon bonds, we know that they are deep discount bonds which are issued at discount, and there is no coupon payment during the period, the tenure of the bond, and only at the maturity the principal repayment is made. But in this case, this is zero coupon, zero principal bond, wherein there will be no coupon payment, wherein there will be no coupon payment and no principal repayment also, right? And herein the investors can subscribe to these instruments to fund specified social impact projects and indicate the same on their balance sheets. And upon maturity, they have to be written off from the books, and investors are not entitled to any interest or repayment of principal. So the only return that would be there for these investors will not be monetary in nature, but in terms of non-monetary return of creating a social impact that they are aiming for through those funds and the donations. And also through this mutual fund schemes, because already there are in existence HDFC Cancer Care Fund, wherein the investments are made and the returns of those investments are paid to the children of who are affected with cancer and all. So similarly, these instruments will be used by these not-for-profit organizations to raise funds. Right, and this zero coupon, zero principal instrument earlier was not a part of an eligible security under this SERA Act. So now, according to this notification in July 2022, according to the Gazette notification, this has been included as an eligible security under the Securities Contract Regulation Act. And for profit social enterprises, issuance of equity shares to alternate investment fund, including social impact funds, and issuance of debt securities. So like all the companies which get listed on the stock exchanges and they propose to get listed on the stock exchange, they need to provide certain disclosures, certain documents through which they raise funds, like a red herring prospectus and all, wherein they provide information about them, about the funds that they are raising and for what they are raising, and about the organizations or SWOT analysis, everything, the past financials and all. So similar kind of requirements need to be made by these not-for-profit organization for the purpose of seeking registration with a social stock exchange according to this regulations. So entity which is seeking to be registered as an NPO, for that registration certificate wherein the validity for the same should be there for at least next 12 months at the time of seeking registration should be there, and these kinds of entities will be eligible for the registration process under these several acts, like the Trust, the Societies Registration Act, and also a company incorporated under Section 8 of the Companies Act. And for ownership and control, they need to provide the necessary documents like memorandum of association or article of association, as per for applicable for the companies, trust deed for trust, and bylaws and constitutions for the respective organizations. And also the disclosure need to be made whether this NPO is owned or controlled by government or is private. And also the minimum age for this registration process to be completed will be evidenced by the registration certificate. For registration at social stock exchange, the minimum age for this NPO should be minimum of 3 years in existence. And for fund flow, these documents need to be provided, and the annual spending in the past financial year should be at least 50 lakhs, and the funding that was raised in the past financial year must be at least 10 lakhs, and which will be evidenced by these necessary documents. Right. So the not-for-profit organizations which are raising funds through the issuance of these securities, they also need to provide the initial disclosure requirements, right, about the vision, about the segment that they are targeting, like which is affected by the problem and how they are affected, and their approach to how to deal with the activities and the governing body and all. So all this is provided in the circular. And NPOs also need to make disclosure of financial statement for the last 3 financial years, details of past social impact and the risk that they might face and the measures to mitigate those risks. And also the major information about the details of the top 5 donors or investors in terms of budget, scale of operations including employee and volunteer strength, and other details need to be provided. So the annual disclosure which need to be made by NPOs which will be registered on social stock exchange, which have raised funds or not, that all these disclosures need to be made within 60 days from the end of financial year. Right. And other report which is very important is the annual impact report. For that, disclosure need to be made by these social enterprises. So annual impact report is basically a report where it signifies the quantitative and qualitative aspect of social impact which is aimed to be generated by this entity, right? So this all social enterprises will have to provide duly audited annual impact report to social stock exchange within 90 days from the end of financial year. And also in case a not-for-profit organization is not is registered but not listed, so in that case also they need to provide information about the significant activities, about the programs that they have undertaken, and the methodology of arriving at the significance of the projects that have created the impact. They need to make a disclosure. And when they raise funds, then these listed NPOs will submit the statement of utilization of funds to social stock exchange under this guidelines within 45 days from the end of quarter. That is 4 times in a year they need to submit this report. Right. So as I said, that amendments have been made in issue of capital and disclosure requirements, because zero coupon zero principal bond earlier was not actually eligible security. Now it is considered as an eligible security which can be issued by these social enterprises, and regulations for the same will be done by SEBI under these guidelines. For that matter, amendment has been made under these regulations as a 3rd amendment. And SEBI listing obligations and disclosure requirements, because disclosure about the utilization of funds that have been raised by these social enterprises, and which will be based on the social audits which will be regularly conducted. And for that matter, these disclosure requirements have been actually inserted in these regulations via the 1st amendment made. Also there will be under this alternate investment fund regulation, wherein the regulations original were of in 2012. So social impact funds are actually added as a category of investments that will be made under category 1 of alternate investment fund. Earlier they were with the name of social venture funds. So for that matter, for meeting the objective objectives and meeting the objectives of these social enterprises, the name has been changed to social impact funds, and these are the funds which invest only in securities of not-for-profit organizations registered or listed on social stock exchange. The minimum value of investment by an individual investor should be 2 lakhs. Okay, and each scheme of this social impact fund shall have a corpus of at least 5 crores. For otherwise, for social venture funds and all, for other kind of investments, it's 20 crores, but for this purpose it has been reduced to 5 crores. Another significant development in this regard is a creation of Social Stock Exchange Governing Council, which SEBI had come up with circular in October 2022. So this Social Stock Exchange Governing Council is basically provided a task with overseeing the smooth and transparent functioning of operations at Social Stock Exchange. So this governing council shall comprise of minimum of 7 experts from each of the stakeholder categories which are specified in the circular. There are 7 categories and 1 person from each will be on expert panel. And Social Stock Exchange Governing Council should meet at regular intervals, but minimum of 4 times in a year meeting are mandatory, and also the frequency of the meeting will be decided by the board. Okay, and also this Social Stock Exchange Governing Council will be constituted prior to seeking approval of market regulator for incorporating Social Stock Exchange as a separate segment. Like BSE has now got the in principle approval for starting Social Stock Exchange as a separate segment on its platform. So prior seeking that approval, it might have constituted already Social Stock Exchange Governing Council, right? So these enterprises, as I said, these kind of social stock exchanges is a novel concept in India, but now it has to be seen that how it progresses and how it meets the ultimate objective for which it is being created for. In many countries it is termed as successful, but also not successful in various countries. So these enterprises are basically meant to bridge the funding gap by creating a social impact and also place the environment for all the ESG guidelines and the features within the pursuit of profit and growth. So this was about Social Stock Exchange. So that's it for today. So we will come up with some other concepts again. Thank you. So with iExamB, prepare 50% faster. Please subscribe to the channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you.